Okay, this is 150.
Without any doubt. Without any question.
Okay, so recently the wonderful Emma Vigeland? Vigeland?
I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to say Emma.
Whatever. The
Yeah.
wonderful Emma Vigeland, and I don't know who Sean Fitzgerald is, but
Yeah, so
we're
this
invited on to.
episode is on Tim Pool's
We're invited
channel.
to be on Temple's podcast.
Which it's a bit ironic if you watch it because it's supposed to be a debate between Emma and Sean, but really became Emma versus Tim Pool after like a third or quarter of the way through,
Okay, so
and then
just
Sean just ended up being a moderator. Really, it's sort of weird. Like, come on, we all know that we wanted to see Emma v Tim Pool, right? Like, cool, she's there to fight Sean Fitzgerald. But I think like Tim couldn't keep himself from talking to Sean.
Not a
Some
very
people
good
say,
journalist,
"Oh, Emma wanted
Timmy.
to talk only to Tim," but I think Tim is the fucking moderator. If he wants to, he could have steered it back to Sean versus Emma, but he didn't. It's his own show, and if you really think Emma's the one who pushed for Tim, then that just means you think Tim can't control his own show. Like, that's on you. That's
Not very journalistic, Timmy.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So tell me, what are they talking about here before we get it?
Right now we're getting into them talking about Ukraine.
Do either of them have a good take?
I think one of them does.
Okay, that gives me some hope.
Be like, instead of having like 3 big companies, I think it was like 4 big companies, just do it, would be to have it decentralized amongst many different producers who are not centralized. And that can be done. We just have to do it.
Talking like a prize, like, hey, if you develop this vaccine, whoever does it first, then you get the windfall.
Or even like a mandated coordination of production, but not have one.
They're right here. They're talking about the pandemic and big pharma and all that, but we're here at the tail end.
If I'm being honest with you, I don't really care about this because at the end of the day, the people who do the real work are the researchers.
Yeah.
If you want cures to come out quicker, then you're going to pay scientists, not corporations.
Yeah, it's like a CEO can't do the research. A fucking researcher will. Like,
Yeah.
Like if a CEO could do it all himself, then he would. But he doesn't. So, yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
One company just be like, we're going to give $10 billion to company X. That's insane.
Didn't one of these companies refuse the money up front for fear of future ownership of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, was that Moderna or something
I
like
don't
that?
remember which one.
I don't know. Anyway, my point was, there's that meme that Elon Musk made where like the left moves further and further left. I think that the left has actually gone right in a weird way.
How is preventing death in a global pandemic?
Well, like, are you in favor of the war in Ukraine?
Oh boy.
I like how he switched also from the pandemic. It's like, well, what about Ukraine? And it's like, he just totally let go of the argument that the pandemic was left leaning. And he's like, it's a switch. They were just talking about the pandemic.
A little cowardly.
Yeah, it is cowardly. He literally just switched up the topic on her. Like, it's, I think that's telling.
I'm sorry, I'll rephrase. Do you believe the U.S. should be involved in providing material support to the Ukrainians?
I have been in favor of it, yes. I do think that there are legitimate concerns about the continuation of doing so without brokering a peace and it becoming some sort of proxy for U.S. like war criminals within the United States. But in terms of like the Russian invasion, I am completely opposed and in support of the Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, the only thing is, I don't know if she agrees with Sam Cedar on this. I'm not going to say she has Sam Cedar's opinion, but I don't like Sam Cedar's take of there has to be a defined war goal. I get why. I get why that is. Because in Iraq, offensive war. But you're talking about a defensive war. You don't want to let the enemy know what the game plan is, and that's effectively what Sam Cedar wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the game plan should be keep giving Ukraine stuff until it becomes far than evident that they are no longer gaining ground. And I mean consistently over a long period, like a year.
They don't know how much they're going to get. I mean, who knows how the war was going to go at the beginning of it?
Yeah.
A lot of people thought Ukraine would have been done in a day, done in a week.
Yeah, like battlefield conditions change wildly within months, within a month. So you need to wait. Yeah, like you got to wait for progress to be evident over longer periods. So if you want my actual opinion, like where would I cut the support or at the very least tone it down, is if Ukraine was making no gains or if Ukraine is wasting the things we gave them. But it seems like they're stretching out the materials we gave them.
Yeah, it seems like they're making good use of it.
They're making great use of it.
They haven't fallen.
Yeah.
It's more a question of like, should we have given, what are we at, like 100 and 200 billion?
I don't know, because there's guarantees which have not been delivered, and it's in terms of weapons. So I don't know what's actually been delivered.
This is what I don't understand.
And you also have to remember too. I gotta stop pausing. Last time, the 200 million or 200 billion, excuse me, is a part of a.
Oh, hello, viewer. Sorry to interrupt. How you doing? Right now we're going over Tim versus Emma, and specifically the Ukraine part, because I noticed that not a lot of people covered the Ukraine section, which I can see why it's a touchy topic.
It is a little touchy, but yeah, basically like that 200 billion that's gone to Ukraine. A lot of that money was already planned. That's a part of a. I think we watched that video. Remember from the task and purpose. It's a part of a already pre-allocated set of money. That money was going to go to foreign support.
Or sometimes the Pentagon literally says, "Oh, look, we found 10 billion here." 100, you know.
Well, it's the war chest.
Yeah, I know. It literally, when you lost trillions, what'd you know? They found $1 billion here. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm talking about the 200 billion so far.
Yeah.
Like that's like America's foreign support chest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of the stuff they've already made, and they just haven't storage.
Mm-hmm.
Like America's storage unit is big. All right, we have a lot of stuff that's already been made.
We're also giving them a lot of our outdated stuff too.
It's like we're not giving them the newest shit on the block. Yeah.
We're offloading a lot of the shit we don't want, shit we don't need. Don't get me wrong. That means that the U.S. producers will be able to justify rearmament.
More. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm of the opinion that rearmament was going to happen, just like no matter how it was going to go, because
we were never going to stop making more weapons.
Well, like they retrofit old gear, so yeah, like it wouldn't have stopped.
Understand, like people I used to know
Hi, viewer.
from back during Occupy are like flying Ukrainian flags and being like, "We got to support this." Hassan Piker criticized me for saying we shouldn't be involved. And I'm
He
like,
also said the invasion wasn't going to happen for sure, like 100%.
Sure.
Then it happened the next day.
But
Hassan had a lot of bad takes on Ukraine. Yeah. He gotten better.
Also, wouldn't it make sense for the little man in Wall Street fighting the big man Wall Street? Also side with the little man Ukraine fighting the big man Russia. Like, you know, the power dynamics are there. Army. Yeah. So you have the normal everyday man protesting Wall Street, the mega fucking corpos, and then you have in Ukrainians, part of a small country, fighting the mega nation Russia. Like, I mean, the dynamics are similar in terms of their size. All right, like,
shut up. You don't know.
I'm
just kidding. I'm sorry. You don't have to shut up.
I'm good.
But my position has always been 99% non-intervention. Like, I've not changed at all in that regard.
Isolationism.
And the left has become pro-intervention, moving.
But we're not.
Right.
But
see, but what's that 1% though? Like, where's that 1%? Like, it'd be nice if you went deeper into it. But...
You know, here's the hot take: I'm pro-intervention if it's for self-defense.
Yeah, giving weapons. Should the French not have intervened and given America support? Without that, America would have never have blossomed.
Yeah,
they would have ended.
I mean, arguably, World War II would have been a fuck of a lot smoother if the French actually did something. There was a little history for you. The Phony War was basically France marching a mile into Germany, saying, "All right, we're good, going home," and then they got conquered several weeks later. So yeah, no. Sometimes intervention is good if you're intervening on the side of the defenders.
Yeah.
Ukraine, the idea that NATO or the Americans instigated the war is complete buffoonery, because Ukraine would never, ever, ever be in a position to do an offensive attack on Russia.
It also is just bad incentive and reinforcement to say that you can conquer a country and everybody would just stand by. You know, like, it just do nothing.
It's enabling fascism and authoritarianism. It's enabling fascism and authoritarianism.
It shows that there's no repercussions for committing war crimes and, you know, invading countries, which, sure, America has done it, but I don't support that, and I don't support Russia doing it.
Yeah, you don't got to support every intervention. You know that, right? You can support interventions on a case-by-case basis. Nuance.
But Ukraine is on the defense. They were invaded. This is not.
I love you.
About Kuwait and Iraq and.
You want to talk about that? I'm in favor.
I mean, look,
we were the equivalent of Russia in the case of Iraq. We invaded under completely false pretenses. We invaded under illegal pretenses.
What I'm saying is, like, this just
and we killed and decimated that country. Hundreds of thousands dead because of the US
If the left
empire.
position was only opposed to war because of the circumstances of the war, then I would say the left is more pro-war and to the right of me on war.
I'm completely anti-war, but the war happened because Russia invaded, and now
Well, like, riddle me this, like, is it pro, like, is it to the right if you just let Hitler do what he wants because you're against war?
That
Like,
is
if you
the
just sat
dumbest
back
take
and let Hitler conquer Europe, it's like, well, I'm against war, I'm to the left. Like, what are you, some fucking, like, pacifist Buddhist?
I hate to
It's
say
like,
it,
all is
actually.
beneath me unless if you're just sitting back trying to reach nirvana. Like,
Here.
it just seems so dumb. To be like, yeah, I would let them just take over my home. Yeah, like, I'm against violence. Like, that's, look, at some points, you're going to need to defend your country. You're going to need to defend, like, literally somebody, like, I'm pretty sure he would be okay with if somebody invaded his home and he went out and fought them because they're literally a home invader. I mean, I'm pretty sure he would be okay with that. Before, when a country wants to defend itself and ask for help, like when he denied the help of a friend, if he's there and like, oh, there's 3 people in my front yard, they're here with guns. Can you, like, like my neighbor, can you come and help me? And like, well, Tim will just be like, no, you're a neighbor. That's like your side of the line. This is my side. I'm against violence. All right, like, just like what the fuck.
Basically, I'm trying to find it. It's very hard to find it, but there actually was protests against World War II by the left, and guess what? The left was wrong.
Yep.
Being anti-war is fine, but it's not enough on its own. You want to God, I always hated it growing up, but harm reduction. You're anti-war, then you always aim for less war, right? And less war, in this case, Russia being crippled because they're the invading party. They've been invading countries, they've been intervening in countries since the fall of the Soviet Union. So they are not instigating peace. They need to be crippled so they can no longer instigate conflict in the area. Basically, they need to be subdued. Right, straight up. They're a hostile country, they're belligerent, they need to be subdued.
Yeah.
now Ukraine is trying to defend itself.
Right. So you're anti-war, you oppose war.
Yes.
But you're to the right of me when it comes to Ukraine.
This is so stupid.
It just lacks nuance.
It does.
Like,
Is that a Starfighter?
Would he say that with World War II? Would he just be like, well, you're to the right of me on fighting against the Nazis. Yeah, you're to the right of me because you want to take up arms against fascists, against, put X villain. You're to the right of me because I would literally just sit at home and do nothing. Yeah, like Tim Pool.
Big brain.
Yeah. God, man.
Oh my god, 2 commercials.
I love YouTube commercials. There we go. Nice. They're gone.
I don't think so.
Do you believe that the U.S. should be supplying and aiding the Ukrainians?
I do believe so because
Right,
they're
who gets that
defending
money?
themselves.
Who gets that money?
The military.
But
they're defending
Raytheon,
themselves.
Northrop Grumman, Lockheed
Yeah,
Martin.
totally.
Yeah, I'm opposed.
Military producers in Ukraine as well. Civilian, there's also a lot of donation networks buying Ukrainian drones. It's not all going to just producers in the military sector, but it's also going in the private sector for drone usage, for Android tablets, for medical gear. There's tons of stuff the money's being used on.
What type of mindset is it to say that, where's your end goal as an ideology if you have to believe that you wouldn't fight whenever somebody comes knocking at your door? It categorizes leftism as literally pacifism, where you don't do anything.
Isolationism is
takes
death.
over your land. Yeah, leftism is literally when you let people pillage your village. Leftism is literally.
But can we agree though? There's this
being dominated.
Can we agree though? There's this tendency on both sides of isolationism being I remember even Kyle Kalinske, I think, said something very similar to this.
Yeah, he's very non-interventionist, but I know he said stuff before that he's just for stronger checks on what we're sending, and if we need to send as much as we are.
I would like to think he has more nuance in his positions, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Opposed to all.
I was just gonna say, but isolationism is toxin. It is a toxic pill. It is basically you saying, I'm going to lower the quality of life for everyone in this country by 10 because I'd prefer if everybody bought American, sold American, consumed American. But American shit is expensive, so fuck everybody who can't afford that.
And it's not like you're going to force them to raise the wages.
Yeah.
because it's anti-business.
Isolation is death. It's not a good idea.
All of that.
I mean, look, if
You're
you,
to the right of me on
if
that
you
issue.
believe that Russia should be able to invade Ukraine and take territory without recourse, then I mean that's pro-imperialism. That's not, and that's still
no,
pro-war.
no.
She's doing such a good job.
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! Let her cook.
She's
Oh,
just-
I love
yeah.
you, Emma. I love you, Emma. Don't take this so weird, but I love you right now. Look.
I think it's
smartness,
weird. Like, why is it such a big point for Tim to say, "Well, I'm to the left of you on this issue"?
Smartness
Like,
is
why?
sexy.
Like, whether left or right, whoever's right is right. You know, are you pro-Russia invasion? Like, at the end of the day, like, are you? Like, that's. I think that's a bigger question to ask than "Are you to the left of me?"
Yeah. Why does that matter?
Yeah.
That's such like a culture war
It's,
bullshit tactic.
it's literally identity politics. I'm leftier than you. I'm leftier than thou. Like,
So what?
it's just such a dumb thing. It feels childish almost.
It does.
Like, dude, fuck.
Yes, it
A lot of
is.
people, around the world do a lot of bad things. I don't think the U.S. should be an empire going and funding wars all over the world.
But you think Russia should be an empire? Okay.
Yeah, so you would just let Russia do it. Like, literally, how are you going to combat Russia doing it if you don't come together and fight the overwhelming power of the Russian military? Which I guess now we see isn't that overwhelming, but still, without the American and international support, I don't think Ukraine would have lasted that long.
Certainly not be able to take back the swath of territory they did in their counteroffensive last year. Because last year they took back a shitload of territory. Definitely could not be done without Western support. But let's see Temple's very intelligent counter.
We're not funding wars. We're funding the defense. I mean,
Like-
and there's something that you can be said where should we draw a certain line? I have already conceded that strings should be attached and we should be involved in peace negotiations. But to flatten the power dynamics here, I mean, I would imagine this is like the same argument that you hear when it comes to Israel and Palestine, right? Where Palestinians are defending themselves, and then it's, oh my gosh, they are just it's completely symmetrical. Israel and Palestine. These are two actors just battling it out.
So you're in favor of intervention there?
I would love to fund the Palestinians so that they were able to have a better
You are
life
to the
for
right of
themselves.
me on foreign policy.
Well,
Giving the Palestinian people
Yeah.
liberation and statehood.
Like, literally, like, the Israel, they have the Iron Dome. Israel has a total defense measure for all these missiles.
God, I
You know,
hate
they
the
have
way
the
he looks here
American
too.
purse. All right, like, look, the only
What a
presidential
smarmy looking
candidate
bastard.
that I've seen that's willing to take any action on Israel is Bernie Sanders. All right, like, no one on the Republican side, Joe Biden hasn't done on the Democratic side. Barack
Ilhan
didn't
Omar.
do it, Trump did. Huh?
Ilhan Omar's.
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good at that.
but she is.
I
I'm
love-
talking about like people
They took
who
her
are
off the
running
committee.
for presidency.
Yeah, they also took
like-
her ass off the committee.
Yeah, that's true. Then after she talked about the Benjamin, she got taken. So she got demoted, taken down rank because she even, like brought up words about it. which
Baby
is
Israel,
really
man.
bad.
Baby Israel needs another $20 trillion
Yeah.
in bombs.
And look, here's Tim literally saying you're to the right of me because you support giving people a better life and making sure they don't die in explosion.
Arguably,
Like
giving
literally
Palestine
simple.
statehood would reduce conflict in the area because Israel would be forced to actually talk to them as these
It's
paid
like,
actors.
if you literally don't intervene, Israel's just going to take more land and kill more people.
Yeah,
now,
no,
Palestine will fight back and send missiles, but at the end of the day,
they're gonna
when
lose.
you have America's purse, it's an almost unlimited fucking wallet. Like,
You're
okay,
watching.
like, it's-
You're watching how isolationism
Yeah.
enables. See, this is how it's like Tim Pool. I don't think Tim Pool fully understands what he's saying.
yeah, that's what I'm like. Like I don't know if it's just because he covers too many things, so he doesn't go deep enough on issue. I don't know because he covers a wide range of stuff. But like literally, like if you're non-interventionist and you're against war, like would you just let every smaller group get dominated by a bigger group? Like if you just you just might makes right in
Yeah.
the non-interventionist eyes. It's like whoever was bigger is gonna win.
Sucks
Like
to suck.
I don't know how that leads to a good world. Yeah, it's like Poland.
Well, I'm to the
over
left of
there.
you.
I'm over here.
Well, I'm to the left of you.
I know. I'm to the left. Yeah, look, Poland just. I mean, maybe it should be split amongst Russia and Germany. Who knows? Why does America need to get involved?
well, we already fund Israel, dude.
Yeah.
Are you against that?
That's a tougher question. I don't have an answer.
You scumbag bastard!
Yeah.
You scumbag pig shit bastard!
He's just cowering away from big topic issues that are getting censored. Yeah, no, he's censoring himself by
I'm
saying I don't have an
pro-war.
answer.
I'm pro-war,
Yeah.
except when I'm bombing people.
Yeah, or funding Israel. Like, God, man.
Yeah, where do you think that?
I
money
hate these
fucking
third
goes?
rails of American politics. It stifles conversation.
Yeah.
Too.
Then you're in favor of funding
no,
military. We
no.
fund the Iron
Me
Dome.
literally
We
saying,
fund
I
their
don't
military-industrial
know.
complex.
Yeah, well,
I
W for Emma. I don't know if she did as good on the trans section, but on this section she did.
She did fantastic.
Yeah.
Love you, Emma.
Anything enough about it?
Then if
And
it's
I
your
lean
principle
against
and you're
intervention?
anti-war, then you should be saying that we should cut Israel funding for Israeli
Or I can say
defense right
simply,
now.
I lean. I said that's why I said 99%. I'll say I absolutely lean against providing military aid to.
Oh well, look. Now he has an answer. He just said I don't have an answer, and then he's like, fuck. I look
What was
back.
he gonna say? What was he gonna say?
Yeah. Sorry. Let me.
No, that's
look
fine. It's
back.
fine. No, it's
5 seconds.
It's fine.
I said that's why I said 99%. I'll say I absolutely lean against providing military aid to Israel. I just don't know. I will say a new war in Ukraine.
What?
A good question I think Emma should have asked would have been. A good question Emma should have asked would have been like what circumstances would make you convince you to cut support.
Also, if this is like one of your very few exceptions, why didn't you lead with that? Why didn't you lead with like, oh well, this is actually my one exception where I'm willing to do this. Why did you just start with I don't know?
There is an argument for why Israel should get money. An argument I actually believe in. I'm okay with giving Israel Iron Dome support. That's fine. No offensive weapons.
It's a defensive measure.
Yeah, no offensive weapons, but defensive's fine. Yeah, totally fine. Give them missiles so they can shoot down.
Palestine has an Iron Dome. Like if it's purely defense, give everybody shields but not swords.
Well, that's what I was. That's actually a good point too. Yeah, Palestine should be included in the A in the no-fly zone, and B, there should be a Iron Dome over Palestine, over the remnants of the West Bank, I guess.
In a territory that we are not, the United States is not, doesn't mean that I'm as far left as possible on the question of imperialism. It means that you are to the right of me on that issue. Yeah. Like you're
and like he again goes back. Like why? Like can you say who's right or who's more moral? Those answers, he's not leading with that question because he's not on the right side of that answer. He's not on the good side. But he's just talking about, oh well, I'm more left, I'm more right. It's such identity politics slop. It's
your position would provide funding for massive multinational military-industrial complex corporations.
I think
it would also stop the march of Russian authoritarianism across Eastern Europe. It would lead to a more stable Eastern Europe and by extension a more stable world.
Yeah.
So very easy 1, 2, 3, but isolationism for the win. Listen, just as a side note, Russia's who's been threatening to nuke who? Who's been threatening to nuke the world over a fucking region?
That's another thing, right? We told Ukraine, hey, denuclearize and we'll protect you. We'll give you our sword if you give us your bomb.
Oh yeah, the Belfast, I think it was the Belfast Accords. Hold on.
And it creates a bad precedent where if time and time again we tell people to denuclearize and we fuck them over, you have Hillary Clinton shitting over Gaddafi and him in his country he decided to denuclearize. Then after that the U.S. went in and killed him, or
the Budapest Memorandum
get him killed.
Yeah,
it makes nuclear
disarmament was agreed to by several of the former Soviet states because the Soviet Union left a large arsenal of nukes in several countries: Ukraine, Hungary, and Belarus, Kazakhstan, a few other places.
And you're making nuclear disarmament look like a bad deal because if time and time again you don't want to live up to it,
that's a great point.
Yeah, it's like you're just gonna make it look like it's bullshit. Like it's just you're literally
enabling nuclear proliferation.
Yeah.
I think that's the fact that we do have
those
contracts is messed up. I think the United States. I think the United States should be more primarily. You want to nationalize the defense industry? You want to go for that? I'm down.
I don't know about nationalizing that. That empowers it, makes it permanent.
Well, there's always going to be a weapons industry, and there's always going to be. It should be it should be severely cut into. But the United States, by the way, made a promise in 1993 to Ukraine that we would defend them if they denuclearized.
That's true.
So that is part of what we're doing in this instance.
That's true too, and I think that's an interesting question about upholding our obligations that I don't disagree with.
I love you, Emma. I just I can't that's what else am I going to say? I love her. Like she's great.
It would be very difficult for.
Please come on our show.
for us. Granted, the issue is I think I'm like a little kid. I'm like 7 years old when something like that happens, and now in my name, we engage in this conflict and war. I think it's fair to say that while I can understand that treaty exists, as a now adult who is paying tax into this, I have the right to object to past agreements that weren't made by me. That being said, I just my point.
I hate. Can I
So,
say
like,
how much I hate that?
It's
I hate when people
it's
do
so
that shit.
short-sighted.
No, not even that. Not even that. He did a thing. I hate when people do this. They don't talk about their answer. They talk about their right to answer. You notice that? He said, like, I have a right to disagree with it. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you disagree with it? Say why.
Yeah, like you're talking about all these rights and rights and rights and rights. I don't think Jordan Peterson likes it when people talk about rights and rights and rights. Take responsibility for the fucking deal that makes it so that they don't have nuclear weapons.
Or at the very least, take responsibility for your position.
Yeah.
Like, no, because like a lot of people do this. It's like, oh, I want the ability to just talk about trans issues, but they're like the biggest transphobe ever. You know what I mean? It's like I hate when people do that. It's just like, just say why. Say what you want to say. Say with your damn chest, man.
And the thing is, are you safer as an adult if they have nuclear weapons? Arguably, you'd been safer when you were a kid when they didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, now that I'm an adult, we can no longer go through the treaties that were given as a kid. Like, you literally don't believe in long-standing treaties or trade agreements. Like, you could say the same thing about trade agreements, right? It's like, oh,
Want me to be devil's advocate?
Huh?
Want me to be devil's advocate?
Go for it.
Cuba.
My brain explodes. And
Cuba's been an existing project of the United States.
yeah, but the U.S. has kicked them to the curb. So
we actively oppose that. No.
Yeah, and then now China's building better relations, spy bases, yada yada.
By covering all the shortfalls we created.
Yeah. Like if we just open the sanctions, they're not.
But you don't want to uphold our previous obligations.
I know.
I know. On per basis, nuance is hard.
We can reassess it and be like, was this deal good?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like you're talking about nuclear proliferation and giving like, oh, well, now Ukraine could have nuclear arms. Like, what was it, the Iran deal? Or we're like, yeah, well, let's end it. And now Iran's thinking about making nuclear weapons again. It's like, yeah, because you ended the deal. You made the world less safe. Because now there's going to be another power in the world that has the ability to end it with a flip of a switch.
Unfortunately, too, Iran's kind of isolated.
Yeah.
So it's not good.
Point on this one was specifically, I see all these Ukrainian flags and profiles. I make a comment in agreement with Hassan where I was like, he was right about Mr. Beast. And then I was talking about military intervention and how it's wrong. We're spending $100 billion on this war in Ukraine. We shouldn't be doing it. And then he laughed at me over it. And I'm just like, genuine question. When did it become, or maybe I was always wrong, when I was at like Occupy or doing these like anti-Iraq war protests back in the 2000s, I thought that it was the left position to oppose military expansion, military industrial complex. But today, it's inverted.
May I cover this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, no, you didn't understand Tim Pool because you were a fucking child at the time. Or you were not. Oh, no, it was 2008, so you weren't a fucking child. But you get the. No.
Yeah.
The left is anti-imperialism. It's anti-authoritarianism. The left, at least in theory, would go to war against authoritarianism. The war against, Nazis or the Spanish Civil War, or hell, even the Civil War of the United States. These were wars arguably that led to leftist outcomes or could have led to leftist outcomes. They were good things to fight. They were good. Like, war is not a good thing ever that we can agree on. But sometimes some wars have to be fought. And this is one of those things where if you oppose authoritarianism, if you oppose fascism, you got to be pro conflict with it.
Yeah, it's like really. So just if you live in your perfect utopia, whenever somebody comes up, are you just gonna show them your ass and like lay on your back, show them your stomach? Like that, it's just so dumb.
Yeah. Look, countries can be for defending themselves. Even the communist socialist utopia.
If you're against military industrial complex corruption, there's audits of the Pentagon, all for auditing the Pentagon and making them live up to the fucking audit. Now they keep failing it. But he's not talking about, the corruption where people sell and buy mugs for the Pentagon office for $10,000 a pop. Like it's
yeah, I made
he's
the
literally
point
just
before.
talking about the concept of defending a country.
I made the point in the last episode. Yeah, the U.S. basically outspends its corruption.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't really hold us down like it does Russia.
Strangely, it's the Trump supporters saying no war.
No,
and it's
because
the
they're
liberals
in
saying
favor of
pro-war.
Russian imperialism. That is, you're again flattening power dynamics of who was the invader and who has been invaded.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I'm
That is
in
exactly
favor of
what you're talking about, bro.
Yeah.
the United States.
What? Okay, this is where I kind of wish Emma could ask better questions, because I think like that debate tactic's really smart. Vosh brought it up before. You should ask him in this situation, why were you against the war in Iraq?
Yeah.
And are those reasons reflected in Ukraine's conflict with Russia?
Mm.
And yes, she brought it up before. She actually did bring up the point. But the reason you should ask the question is because it forces them to think about it, to either do the mental gymnastics or to just face up.
Also, like, I'm pretty sure Tim Pool is all for having the community help each other. And any other situation, if it's like a home community, like, you're all for protecting your neighborhood from people that are coming in and making it worse. Then why can't you okay with the international community helping each other and like on a bigger level? I mean, it's just.
Well, he brings up stuff like the military industrial complex.
Yeah.
And those are problems.
They
are huge problems. There's no lie about that. But the fall of Ukraine or the survival of Ukraine will not affect that. It'll have no, if anything, the fall of Ukraine and in a more unstable Eastern Europe, Poland's already here's proof. Poland's already rearming. Finland and Sweden just joined the NATO alliance, which means they're going to increase their spending. And Turkey's now rearming with a new style of drone. Basically, every country that borders Russia is in fear.
Yeah.
And they're acting on it.
None of that would have happened if they just did invade Ukraine. Like, it's not like Ukraine went up to Russia and invaded their land. No.
They would never be able to.
Russia did this. Plain and simple.
Abiding by the treaty that we promised Ukraine in 1993.
I'm not talking
where
about
we
any of
said
that.
that we were going to defend them if they do denuclearize. And by the way, why I'm more pro-war than you, or anti-war, Jesus, anti-war than you, is that I'm in favor of broad denuclearization. And I think that we should continue to make our promises to countries that choose not to engage in making nuclear power.
How does that make you more than me?
In nuclear weaponry?
I don't disagree on that at all.
Okay, then there you go.
But
he disagrees with keeping up the treaties.
Yeah, the Budapest Manafort.
Yeah, like literally, he just said like, oh well, he's not for keeping up the treaty. Like,
sorry,
he already said that.
My bad, I always get that word wrong.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah. The Budapest Memorandum was effectively us getting rid of nukes from the world.
Yeah, and it's like, and he's not for keeping that treaty, just ongoing.
Yeah.
Like, there's some things you just say is an objective good thing.
Well, that's why I say that I genuinely think Tim Pool doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, like he didn't think through the issue.
I think there's holes in his
seems
knowledge.
very reactive. Very, I guess, reactive.
Emotional?
In some ways,
Every woman like Tim Pool.
Yeah, the manosphere comes in, starts smacking. Yeah.
I love
What does Nico have to say on the Ukraine conflict?
I'm okay. I don't want to hear what he has to say. I have no faith, and even if he does, I'd rather him keep it to himself.
Yeah,
I'm in favor of committing and making our and because they denuclearized and said that we're not going to create nuclear weaponry, I am in favor of keeping our promise on that front, so that we are able to incentivize and keep our promises that we are going to back you up if you choose not to make nuclear weaponry.
Maybe it's not a left or right thing. Maybe it's more of just
You're the one who kept making it that.
Yeah.
Well, who the fuck are you telling that to?
Mr. Identity Politics.
Who is he telling that to? Himself?
Yeah, it's like he's just thinking about it. He's like, well, wait, I just came up with a good idea. What if I'm wrong?
Am I thought that?
Yeah.
Jesus.
libertarian thing.
I mean,
libertarian versus authoritarian.
I think it's that first of all, anti-war is a dumb position. I'm sorry. It's everybody's like anti.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I like how this was originally supposed to be Emma versus Sean, but then it became Sean moderating.
Kind of
Emma.
Kind of agreeing with Emma a little here.
Yeah, Emma's doing great. And it was weird. I saw Sean, he sort of flipped on Emma's side on the second. It was really good.
wars they don't like, but obviously, like, I can composite a scenario where you would support like an intervention. Like, if you gave me time to like
That's
think
why I
about
say
it and all that,
99%
right?
because nothing's absolute. Like if you were to tell me
99% is a dumb answer.
Yeah, but then can you give me a reason why this percent or this one scenario fits in the 99? Like, you haven't given the reasons. You just said you're against war, but in some cases not. Where's the reasoning? Where's your, logical process?
Anti-woke?
Yeah, oh yeah, if it's...
Maybe that's why he's pro-Ukraine laying down, because
yeah.
Russia is very anti-woke.
that Vladimir Putin he's live streaming himself about to launch a nuclear weapon at Washington D.C. I'd be like, okay, we got to do something about that.
But there's something to what she's saying, where the Ukraine, after the fall of the Soviet Union, had the third largest nuclear weapons stockpile.
That's right.
And in exchange for giving it up, there were security guarantees. Now, if you're worried about nuclear proliferation in other countries that might lead to a nuclear war, protecting or making sure that they can maintain their territorial integrity, just as an example to other countries that might want to denuclearize in the future, is a worthwhile stake. And I think I understand that position. Like, it makes perfect sense in my opinion.
I understand it. I don't care though, right? So it's kind of like
that's it. That's the quarter piece. That's the
Fucking
final
soup
piece
brain,
of the
man.
puzzle. Like, he just doesn't care. And maybe that's what makes it all worthless. It's like trying to debate, change his opinion. Well, he just doesn't care.
I'm cool with more nukes being in the world. I like it when people don't trust denuclearization.
Yeah.
Oh, because they signed it when I was a baby. So what?
Yeah.
You got to survive being a baby.
But then also, he's always pro nuclear disarmament. Yeah, it's
Whatever.
yeah.
like if
Let's hear.
some-
God, they both.
Yeah, like
Looking at
okay.
each other. This
Like-
motherfucker.
Yeah, the fact that Emma could be on a side with the with Sean and make Tim Pool look this way, fucking bravo! Like, you
Damn.
did it. You're flipping the people beside you. You're doing it, wheeling
Man,
and
why you
dealing
gotta
in the
do this?
compound.
Sean, you looking like a snack too over there. But Emma, damn. Y'all doing something to
This
me
is
right now.
amazing.
Y'all doing something. So I was like, get away from me.
some dude cut a deal with, like, someone in my family cut a deal with someone else, and then 30 years later they walk up and say, your dad told me that if I ever had this problem, you were gonna take care of me. I'd be like, I'm not my dad. I'm sorry. Like,
But that's like basically
Governments
I'm gonna
change,
let him
policies
finish.
change.
I'm gonna let him finish.
and the idea that because 30 years ago someone cut you a promise means that I now have to spend $200 billion defending you. The people of this generation who are inheriting this country did not agree to that.
So you're right.
Mhm.
That's true. But you're framing that as if there's no benefit for us.
Yeah.
The benefit for us is having a safer, more peaceful, and having a less nuclear
It's like,
filled world.
what he forgot to put an analogy is, it's like, well, every year I've been giving you this and that, so now it's time for me to collect on it. And if Temple lived his entire life getting money from that uncle, his entire life up to being 30 something, getting something with uncle, and the uncle's finally like, hey, can I get this favor now? I've been giving you literal housing and money and all for like your entire life. Can you finally like pay back, all the stuff that they've given you up until your fucking 30s? And then Temple's like, nah, I'm out of here. Like, yeah, goodbye. Like, good day. It's just,
I got what I needed.
yeah. And it's like, it's not like you had nothing in return. You became the switch holder for the end of the world. Like, your analogy is too simplistic. It doesn't have the nuance of the discussion. And
It
you
frames
talk about
as if we
99%
don't get
of the
anything
time.
out of it.
Yeah, no, it's totally a misrepresentation.
No, it's fine.
So what does that say to people who might be manufacturing their own nuclear weaponry? That it
Oh.
doesn't, that the promises made by the world superpower don't really matter. And
I don't like the idea
you
of
shouldn't
America being
necessarily
this, like,
trust it.
world superpower.
I
Like,
agree.
my view is probably different from you in that regard. I'm more so like, I think it'd be great if we brought jobs back here, if we protected the middle.
That's such a non-answer,
Yeah,
man.
you just literally just pivoted away like a politician.
God.
Like literal
Slippery
politician,
fucking
reptile
eel.
blood, like cold. Oh Jesus!
Slippery fucking eel, dude.
Yeah,
class, maybe had stronger workers' rights.
Oh, 100%. You
Maybe-
want to talk
maybe-
unions? I'm in favor of that.
God, I can hear it in her voice, man.
yeah. No, the
She's
whole
so sick of
debate
this
was
shit.
so annoying and frustrating.
God. Hey, Emma, look, I know I'm being a little weird.
Yeah,
So sorry about me being a little weird. I promise I won't do it. Come on our show. We'll treat you better. Promise. We love you.
Like, you look earlier in the debate where they're talking about crime, and Emma's like, "Oh, well, it's partly because of poverty and mental illness." And then so Paul's like, "Okay, there's people like throwing people in front of subway trains. Why are they doing that? Because they're poor." And Emma's like, "Well, I mean, it's also mental illness." And he's like, "Well, why are they doing it? Because they're poor." And it's just like he doesn't respond. He like his brain is set on a one wire track. You know, there is no other rail.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
a single rail.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Girl paired him. She's pro-war and pro-imperialism. She knows it. Freudian slip. I mean,
Oh yeah, the Freudian slip was rough.
The left can't hack it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm giving too much credit to podcasts. So too, they're like such a weak argument. 10 years later, we invaded Iraq again. Should Russia attack us for that invasion?
I mean, but Ukraine is not invading.
In fact,
Russia.
here's your question, Cassie Hogg, since you're such a hog. If Russia supported Afghanistan, they'd be justified. In fact, the United States went out of its way to make sure Iraq was isolated. I think it was Iraq or Afghanistan. Basically, what happened is the eve of the war, the Pakistan was one of its big supporters, and we basically went to them and said, if you keep hiding Taliban in your country, we're gonna fucking invade you. You're gonna be a part of this. We're gonna fucking Saddam and you like gone. So it's like,
which Saddam.
So maybe Afghanistan would have been better off if it had a larger ally like Russia, that's already was being fucking sanctioned, so it wouldn't have mattered. But
on imports for two reasons. The idea that we'd manufacture a car in China and then ship it on a boat over here just to waste energy because someone's willing to do it cheaper is nonsensical to me.
I mean, ask that to Elon. He talked a lot about how in the Chinese facilities they work so hard and more than Americans. Ask Elon. You're there. You're in the sphere of influence among them. Like.
Don't think that hard.
And the thing is, why? Why did they do it over there and not here? It's because they can exploit them because they cost the bottom dollar.
I hate to say it
It's
too.
like,
if you care about energy usage, you're certainly using less energy on Chinese workers, keeping them alive, maintaining quality of life.
And the thing is, what's Temple's answer? If everything costs more, does everybody get paid more? Yeah. Are you going to be against giving so much to your stockholders and giving more to the workers?
This is why I think he doesn't understand what he's saying, because he's literally saying in one breath, I want jobs and workers to have rights and have more money.
Like, create a flow chart and just go like 3 boxes over and you'll be there. It's just create a flow chart.
Yeah, he'll literally say, like, I want workers to have more money, but I also want everything to be more expensive.
Yeah.
As long as it's made in America. Like, no, fuck that. American made shit sucks.
Just buy American. So we need to build up the incentives for all the manufacturing to happen here in the United States to create good jobs, to protect the workers. Worry less about whether or not we're going to go blow up some foreign country, a bunch of kids in it or something like that.
Listen, man, manufacturing coming back to the United States is a fucking pipe dream. It's a crackhead fantasy.
Also, I wonder if he covered the Union Supreme Court decision.
Well, before we get to that, let's just talk about manufacturing, because I've been hearing this shit for years. Like, bring back manufacturing.
Yeah.
Listen, man, it's done.
Yeah.
America does not manufacture anymore. We don't manufacture shit. We manufacture
weapons
and some high tech stuff, but we don't most of that shit's assembled out of the country. Most of that shit is finished off here. But like, we don't build shit anymore. That's just not what we do. We are a service economy. We are a service economy, and we have like from finances to all types of shit. Like, we serve. We provide services and
make
some
apps.
goods.
We make games sometimes.
Huh?
We make games, apps.
Well, like
Right here.
material production.
Twitter. We did it.
Would that count as material production, though?
I mean, I understand the difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're just fucking with me, okay?
Yeah, it's just like, that's the difference between making steel beams that Bush will destroy, or and Twitter,
The ones that don't
Elon
melt.
will destroy.
You mean the ones that don't melt by jet fuel?
Yeah, no.
Dude, imagine this fucking show gets a fact check on it.
I know.
In fact, it can be. Whatever. I don't care. It got hit by a plane. All right, that's why it fell. It got hit by a big fucking plane.
And the second plane,
Yeah. Okay. If you hit a building with a plane, it's gonna fall. Like, god damn.
But
Okay.
I think like there's like like you're not seeing this past like what's currently happening now. because I get it, right? And I was a big Ron Paul guy, and he didn't like the idea that one generation could promise the sons of a future generation.
That's exactly
And
right.
I understand that position, but if we don't want Saudi Arabia to nuclearize, we don't want Iran to nuclearize, and we're like, hey, like, you know, like, we got you, like, don't nuclearize. We're gonna try to, like, you know, be the 800-pound gorilla in the room so that you don't have problems. And then they look and say, well, you made that promise to Ukraine, and then with the 30 years
I don't care.
later, they're invaded by Russia and completely
Why are we making
obliterated.
those promises?
Because
because
Jesus Christ, man.
Because we don't want to be nuked. If you ask
Yeah.
dude, if you ask a person, because I know Tim's like in his 30s, I think, right?
Mm.
If you ask anybody who was older, like 50s, 60s, you ask them, there was legitimate fear about
Yeah.
the Cold War.
There
Like,
was
paranoia.
like, prep drills in schools. Like, everybody was afraid. The end of the world was nigh. The doomsday clock ticking. In a moment, you could have just became freaking nuclear ash. And it makes the world safer if we all agree to not make those weapons and not hold them. You know, it's a safer world. I can understand where you're like, oh, you know, like, the deals of the father should not go to the son. But like you said, 90% of the time we're for that, you're for that. But there's exceptions. We're outright, it is a better world to not have the nuclear countdown at 11 out of fucking 12.
Sometimes I think Tim Pool is confusing promising the sons of the future generation
Yeah.
and planting seeds
Look,
for the future
And you ask
generation.
any like leftist, you know, right wingers, like, it's not like the son should pay the debts of the father, but you know, like,
This is an
there's
obligation. You know what this is like?
Huh.
It's like when a father plants a tree
yeah,
and the son is asked to take care of it when the father is gone.
yeah,
Yes, it's an obligation. Yes, there will be costs to it. But yes, there are benefits for him too. And it's not just like a lose-lose situation. That's why I'm very like this. Again, does Tim Pool know what he's talking about?
I don't think so.
because
that's
we
the
don't
nature
want
of a treaty.
No, you know, the idea that
How could
we have,
how could any
we have-
treaty exist, Tim, if it's people had your position and just said, yeah, fuck it.
people.
So that's an anti-
I'm sorry. Emma, please come on our show. Emma,
It's
you-
just amazing.
Look, Emma, I don't watch the Majority Report that much. I'm
Mhm.
not really a big fan of it. You know, Sam Cedr's great,
Yeah.
but just not. But I love you. I absolutely love what you've been doing. I love what you've been saying. Come on our show, please. We need support. Okay,
Oh,
let's
you
stop.
put down the volume.
Oh,
Or
come
no, there
on.
we go.
Yeah,
Me
Being
literally being like, we
anti-diplomacy-
shouldn't go to war. Like, that's pro-war.
Well, being
The idea
anti-diplomacy
that
is
You're ignoring their
Yeah.
point.
Also, she was about to say something. Well, you done?
Oh, come on.
being
Me literally being like, we
anti-diplomacy.
shouldn't go to war. Like, that's pro-war.
Well, being
The idea that
anti-diplomacy is
we can make a
pro-war.
treaty around, here's
Yeah, hit the nail in the coffin there. Like,
I love this woman.
why we won't attack you. Totally fine. Here's a treaty around, I'm going to allow your citizens to cross my border with no visa and we'll reciprocate, like, back and forth. And then having one being like, in 30 years, if anyone comes to fight you, we will fight on your behalf, despite the fact that you're not an allied nation or a bunch of other issues. I don't think at any point ever the U.S. should have been making these promises. And then to come out and be like, but now Saudi Arabia is, oh, I'm sure every country is going to be upset if we don't fight on the behalf of some other country.
No, it's not. It's
There
not
are
about.
limitations. Look, nothing's absolute. I get it. We're in this position now. There's an interesting question of South Korea. People ask me, what if China invaded? And I'm like, well, we got a lot of troops there right now. So I understand the circumstances of today. But the issue is, you know, for one, we could have put a no-fly zone over Ukraine before the invasion started. That would have stopped Russia in its tracks.
That's
Well,
also unrealistic
Yeah.
because
Damn. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I did it again.
No, you're good. You're good. No, yeah.
That's World War III. If
Yeah.
the United States enforced a no-fly zone, that's World War III.
If you look back, what was it? The
Syria.
Was it 2016?
Do you remember the Syria debate?
Yeah.
Yeah, exact same
Hillary
shit.
Clinton was for putting no-fly zones, and everybody saw that as, well, there was some political commentators saw that as, oh, look at Hillary, she's so fucking pro-war because of no-fly zones, and that if America strikes down another country's jet, that would lead to war. You are actively killing, like, an American troop is killing another country's troop. Imagine if America's like, no-fly zone, and then Russia flies a plane and an American missile system by Americans, manned by an American, shoots down a Russian. That's World War III. But for some reason, on the fucking flowchart of events, Tim Pool didn't get to the end. He didn't go past 2 blocks. It's very
We
frustrating.
got off the Ukraine bit, but
No fly zone is
let's wrap it up in a minute.
Yeah,
de
yeah.
facto
Been on this
declaration
one
of
for a
war
while.
once the plane gets shot down, once the United States.
And that means
All right, yeah, Emma. You like I said, I don't really watch the Majority Report. You've made a fantastic impression upon me. And yeah, good job, Big W.